The mask is back, and I just now I'm gonna start uploading again. I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna make a Marab video because I mean he is the GOAT, no questions, and I'm sick of people trying to act like, oh, Umar actually won that all of a sudden. Crazy. If it was the other way around and Nurmagomedov got that decision, people would be going crazy saying, people would think you're crazy saying that Marab won. So, yeah, it's just a bias there. But I'll make a video on that, dedicated video. But let's get into it. Um, Ulanbekov, Carpenter. Yeah, I saw this happening. I thought that Tagir could have gotten a submission because it was impressive his performance against Cody Durden. But Clayton Carpenter, I think he had that sort of tight, compact mm, Chad Mendes sort of physique and stature. So I didn't see a way that it would easily be done. I didn't see it. So I thought a decision, and he basically just did exactly what I thought. I think it was a 30-27 in my opinion. I could see a 29-28, but I give it 30-27. Pretty simply just outstruck him, and then he took his back, took even, not even just the back, but just kept him there, laying on him in certain moments, kept the ground and pound, very light ground and pound, but kept it going enough to keep Clayton Carpenter stationary and to not allow it to get stood up by the ref. So yeah, man, I mean, it was good performance, but definitely not worthy of calling out Pantoja. I know he's shooting his shot, but because lots of these undeserved title shots have been going out lately, but it's just no, no, it's not happening. Okay, give him a Sue Alamabayev when he loses to Steve Ercik. Um, and moving on, we have Bernardo Sopauge versus Ricky Tercios. Yeah, I mean, I actually, I actually thought that Ricky Tercios won this, watching live. No, okay, going back, yeah, Bernardo Sopauge probably gets it 29-28. I don't see a 30-27. I don't really know how people gave how nobody gave one of the first two rounds to Tercios. Yeah, Bernardo Sopauge got the third round clearly, but I don't know how nobody even considered giving Tercios one of the first two rounds. I kind of thought that he was just his busy style was actually working, and Bernardo Sopauge wasn't landing enough heavy strikes or doing anything significant to actually win the rounds. And these pitter pat shots were actually kind of effective in just overwhelming Bernardo, I felt. But I picked it right, even though I didn't feel like I did. But I mean, yeah, it's a nice win for Bernardo, and hopefully he's gonna prove himself even further. He looked composed much more than Ricky Tercios. He was doing that flimsy jab, flimsy kick. He does have some decent takedowns. I should have mentioned that in my prediction video. But his most effective thing, some might say, if you're the type that thinks that Marab won based off of showboating, then the most effective thing Terzios did to you might be his ha yelling and like he's a video game character or something. Because he does that for some reason when he like faints. I don't really get it. He shouts at the opponent when he faints or he's like jumping at them. Really weird. But I thought he could arguably win it. I don't know. Murin Gafurov and Ringy Nakamura. In the back of my head, I did feel like this could have happened. I don't know why not enough people have been talking about the 3 or 4 knockdowns that Gafurov had. People are just saying, "Oh, he rocked him a lot." He rocked him, yes. Nakamura got rocked a lot, but he also got dropped a lot as well. So yeah, I mean, there were moments where it's like, I mean, I was so close to getting that round 3 submission if he just had the guillotine in a better position, but ultimately it didn't come to fruition. I was so close to getting that third round sub, but Murin Gafurov survived, and I believe he even rocked him or dropped him a little bit after he got out of the submission. So, I mean, Gafurov, he stuck to his game plan, but Nakamura just had a terrible one. if we're being honest. And I mean, everybody's calling him out on it for rightful reason because he is the ground guy and he rarely took it to that. He rarely took it to the ground. The stats, I believe, said on the official UFC page that he didn't attempt any takedowns. He attempted one, but he should have gone a little bit more so, I feel. So, yeah, man. Impressive from Gafarov. And Alan Perez, Carl Rosa. I give this 29-28. I was surprised to see and hear two of the three judges sear. I just realized I said sear, two words combined, I guess. But yeah, I was surprised to see and hear that two of the judges gave 30-27 to Aileen Perez. I did think that she won, but it was closer than people are saying, than what people are giving credit for. I think that Carla Rosa, though, it's on her that she didn't throw enough. She was hurting Ellen Perez in the leg, and yes, Ellen Perez was doing a good job circling the cage, getting out of the positions to where her compromised leg would be even further compromised with those leg kicks. But ultimately, Carl Rosa still just didn't throw enough of those kicks. And I think that yes, she was being pretty technical, but I mean, look, it ultimately led to her losing that she didn't throw enough. So sometimes you just gotta make it a bit more of a dogfight. You just gotta throw it, like Marab. You know, lots of fighters can learn from him. You know, be humble. Um, just throw the kitchen sink. Maybe take EPO if that's what he's doing. I mean, look, Marab's my favorite fighter. Marab and Yuri, you know this, but I mean, even I think it's just I can't deny it seems kind of suspicious as cardio. But I mean, Mardo? No. Marab is a great role model and a great fighter. Um, I'm glazing. The Diego Ferreira and Grant Dawson fight was pretty good, honestly. I thought that it was over estimated how boring this was. I think Lucas Tracy was one of those guys who said that. I don't like that. I think that it was actually really you saw Grant Dawson was trying to go for it in the on the feet as well, but he knew that that wasn't his element, so he decided to when things might have gotten a little hairy with the brawls, he decided to go for the single legs and even sometimes double, but usually single legs it seemed, and it was usually backing Diego Ferreira up with the blitzes and just flurries of punches, and then he would eventually go for the single leg and then drag him down from there. Pretty easy actually, quite surprising, although you know it just shows like how good Grant Dawson is. So it's not too surprising. I did expect this, but I expected it to be a little less dominant. Similar to how I predicted with the Demir's Magulov fight, I expected that to be a razor close 29-28. Similar with this, although I thought that it would be a unanimous instead of a split, like how I did, unlike how I did with Imagulov. I thought that that would be a split, but Grant got a 30-27, and I think it was two 30-27s and a 29-28. I think that's a pretty fair scorecard. I gave it 30-27. So, I mean, yeah, give him his freaking chance at a Benil Dariush or a Renato Moicano. Give him his shot. He's fought his way back up. He's only lost to Bobby Green, and that was kind of fluky. He's shown that he's got a okay chin. It was just a weird shot, and it was just a weird night for him. Lots of weird stuff going on. The weird introduction with Bruce Buffer, him staring at Bruce Buffer the way he did, the music that he chose, all of that. We all know that was a weird night for him. He was ranked number 10, okay? And then he just gets booed out of the rankings for that? Like, that's kind of stupid. Um, Bogdan Guskov, I mean, what can you say about this? I saw that the Weasel picked Belly Alakana, and yes, Laterman skill's a thing. We all know this by now. Lucas Tracy popularized that belief, and it is true. However, let's just say it how it is. Bogdan, he does have a problem with the back takes. We saw that Volkan Oezdemir managed to take him down like that. We saw that um, Volkan Oezdemir and Ryan Spann managed to get to his back. Now he has decent defense from there. However, he is quite susceptible to getting his back taken and getting taken down. So I wasn't sure if Billy Elicano was going to implement that, if he was going to try that. And his implementation of that did surprise me. However, I wasn't worried at all because I knew that Bogdan was going to get back up in the next two rounds. He was going to get back to it, and he was probably going to win either a 29-28 or a late finish. But he actually got it in the middle of the fight. It was pretty much exactly in the middle, if only a little bit more than the middle of the fight. It was the second round, and he basically just weathered the storm. Billy L kind of tired, and he just didn't know what else to do in front of a skilled opponent like Bogdan. And he just put on the pressure, hurt him, rocked him a little bit, and then Billy L kind of backed up to the cage and he got the guillotine. I thought it was a darts for some reason originally, but it was a guillotine. And yeah, I thought this was a pretty easy pick. I think that Bogdan needs to get step up. I think since Johnny Walker stepped out, we should probably give. I wouldn't be upset with a Nikita Krylov matchup. That would be nice. Since Nikita Krylov, let's be honest, yes, he has a good three-fight win streak, but he hasn't fought in like 2 years, it feels like. So I would say Nikita Krylov, just off of sitting out too much, he needs to be given someone that's up and coming like Bogdan Guskov. Good win. Anthony Smith 2.0. Azamat Bakoyev, Zach Reese. Now, I mean, Zach Reese, I thought that he would be a little bit more of a kickboxing heavy approach. He did do that a little bit, but when he was getting taken down, or when he was uh, about to be taken down, he was trying to hit elbows when he should have been trying to push Bakoyev off of him and you know just sprawling out of it. But he kept trying to land those elbows. In that range, it's not gonna do much. It really isn't unless you create enough distance to then uh, put enough force into your elbow. But he was doing these sort of upwards like 12 to 6 kind of look elbows, and it just wasn't really doing anything. I mean, I don't trust Joe Rogan too much with his commentary these days anyway, but one thing that I do think that he said that was actually quite good was, 12 to 6 elbows are not nearly as damaging as you'd think they are because there's just not enough leverage. So Zach Reese going for those kinds of elbows in that position that he was in, if you watch the fight, you know what I'm talking about. It was kind of silly. It was pretty silly. And against Bokoyev, yeah, I thought that he could have gone for some takedowns, and I knew that he would be the more explosive fighter, and he did get the win off being explosive, having some bombs on the ground, and even on the feet. I expect him to be the heavier striker, but I thought that Zach Reese would do enough on the feet, be technical, get away from the takedowns, get away from the big meaty hooks, you know? It didn't happen, though, so. I mean, yeah, it was a pretty 50-50 pick, but I thought it was just a more proven Zach Reese. So that's the reasoning there. Ronnie Barcelos, Peyton Talbot. Honestly, I've seen a few of Ronnie Barcelos' fights. I did not know that he had that takedown threat like that. I've mostly seen him as a not takedown, a kickboxing, striking guy, or not a kickboxing, but like a Muay Thai guy. That's usually what I've known him for. And with this win, I do think I've seen some people mention Cody Garbrandt. I love that fight as well. Some other names, that come to mind. Miles Johns, maybe, but I think Cody Garbrandt is better for him. I think he's earned. I think he's earned that with these crazy odds and him being a crazy underdog, crazy, doubts. I think that he's earned a bigger name, but not quite the rankings. I think with one more win, he should get the rankings, but or a fight to get into the rankings. But I mean, dude is a veteran, and he's shown it here. I mean, even despite this guy being dominant in his grappling, and even some moments on the feet, which 30-26 I think is fair. I think I gave it that. I still think that it was competitive in moments. Peyton Talbot was doing good when he got up to the feet in moments, and he did have certain times where he would show okay takedown defense, but there were many moments where he needed to where it showed that he needed to improve certain kinds of takedowns. I think particularly a single leg. Maybe I'm wrong, but I mean even double leg. I mean lots of takedown positions where he just could have shown improvements, and I thought that he was going to be a brick wall when it came to that because in his fight versus oh, I was going to say Clayton Carpenter, but it's not that guy. The uh the guy that DDP works with. Um, uh, I'm not gonna spend all day on this. No, I gotta know. I gotta know. Um, Cameron, it was on the tip of my tongue. It couldn't come to mind for some reason. Yeah, I think that Clayton Carpenter, Cameron Simon. Yeah, he kind of tried to go for takedowns, and seeing Peyton Talbot's just calmness and awareness, like going for the knees, just being very aware when to pick your shots and when the guy is gonna try and go for a takedown. I thought that he would be a little bit more wise to it with Ronnie Barcelos, but the problem was Cameron Simon just didn't have that experience to know when is this coming, what is this guy doing. I know that this guy is gonna try and knock me out, so I'm gonna go for the takedowns. What takedowns is he likely to be susceptible to, and why? He just knew everything that was coming to him, so almost everything. So yeah, it was a really fun fight to be honest, but it was a clear winner, obviously. And yeah, I mean it was a crazy fraud check. Rainer de Ritter and Kevin Holland. Another kind of fraud check because, I did expect that Kevin Holland would be able to piece him up a little bit. Sort of like how I understand that Jack Della Maddalena has no takedown threat, but sort of like how he would in the teeping department with the Jack Della Maddalena fight in JDM, because in that fight I know it was a unjust split decision, but it was a split decision nonetheless. It was a pretty decently competitive fight, not in the boxing, no, but in the kicking department. So I thought that Kevin Holland, seeing how in moments GM3 Gerald Mearshart did have success in the feet in moments, I thought that Kevin Holland would be able to find the moments as well, particularly to the body, since Reiner de Ritter does keep a pretty high guard. I thought that the teeps would be there. I thought that he could keep a little bit of a sloppy jab and a sloppy like slapping hooks. I've noticed that he's done that a little bit in his past, in his career, like against when he rocked Stephen Thompson, for example. I noticed that even though Stephen Thompson did keep a pretty high guard, so he couldn't really do much. Kevin Holland, though, did just kind of slap around the guard with his hooks. Not really too technical, but he was landing, and I thought that he would win the first round off that, and then in the second round, Rainier would just, being DDP 2.0, find a way, sort of like against Derek Brunson, DDP versus Derek Brunson. I thought it would be like that a little bit, but he got it done early, and he had kind of exposed Kevin Holland with his back takes. It was pretty easy. I think that Rainer de Ritter is actually pretty darn good, but I think he isn't as good as some people are gonna hype him up to be now. I think he's certainly gonna be able to stay around in the top 10, but I don't think that he's ever gonna touch the belt. I don't. Kevin Holland, though, I think he's a little underrated. I think people are underrating this win a little bit too much, but it's a little pathetic to see how fast this happened. It does because, Kevin Holland, he is known for having decent jiu-jitsu, but he kind of just got squashed. I don't mean to sound disrespectful, but it's kind of how it happened. He just kind of he didn't really put up much offense, and it was actually Reiner de Ritter got who actually jabbed Kevin Holland, and Kevin Holland kind of just whiffed with like a complete outer range, completely off hook. It looked like a hook, a counter hook or something he was trying to go for, but it was Reiner de Ritter that actually jabbed into the takedown. So, yeah, I mean, pretty good from Rainier de Ritter. I do see him actually having some success, but I don't see him being like a Hamzat who, we are expecting to probably touch the belt, or if not, get a couple title shots or title fights in the future. Jailton Almeida and Sergey Spivak. I was surprised to see Sergey Spivak have some success. I was like, oh my gosh, he actually got to the moments where he needed to in this fight early on. I was like, oh my gosh, watching live. Because he got to the mount, and it's like, normally these people are never able to get off to, from below him. They're never able to get up from below him with these moments where he's in the mount and he's got the ground and pound shots going. But Jailton Almeida, he wise to it. He was constantly turning, constantly moving when he was on bottom, and he managed to get on top. And then he was looking for the moments, but then Sergey gets back. He gets a reversal. Crazy moments. It was a pretty good fight. As long as it lasted, and then they both get back up, and you see Sergey Spivak, he kind of goes for, I think it was a right hand, maybe it was a left hand, kind of a straight shot he was trying to go for, but he just was kind of off. His aim was wrong, and then Jailton Almeida capitalized, and he had the more tight combination, and he just landed a three-piece, it looked like, which hurt Sergey, and he actually showed his hands for the first time in his career. Usually he's just known for the front kick, but he actually showed some decent hands, and he managed to finish it with ground and pound. He is looking to be a menace in the division, a menace, an absolute menace, and that should be his real nickname, because I mean he's just putting these guys away in the first round, two Moldovan guys, and it's kind of sad to see because I like Moldova, but I mean their heavyweight guys are just being taken out by Jailton Almeida, and at the end of the day, I think that Jailton Almeida is actually a little overhyped right now. I think that he certainly can win against Cyril Gane, and I think that Cyril Gane, yeah, he didn't look too good in his last fight, and he definitely didn't win it, and it was a robbery, but if he does fight Jailton Almeida, I think Cyril Gane wins that, honestly. I know that's a pretty crazy take, but I think that Cyril Gane knows that the biggest threat in that matchup is the ground. I know that Almeida has shown an improvement in his hands now, but it's not nearly enough. I mean, Cyril Gane is like top three, top five at least, best strikers and heavyweight of all time. You just gotta admit that. Now, Volkov has improved in that realm as well, and he's also up there. However, I just don't see in any way, shape, or form how Jailton Almeida outstrikes him or even comes close on the feet. I see it being similar to the Sergey Spivak Cyril Gane fight if Almeida can't get it to the ground. And if Almeida gets stuck on a single leg or a double leg and he's just not successful and he's just on the feet, Cyril Gane can just hit back of the ear like how Blades did, and I think to more success. Now, granted, he doesn't quite have the power, but he does. He's had finishes like that where he hit to the back of the ear. Some would say it's to the back of the head, but against Junior Dos Santos, I think it was, Cyril Gane landed a back of the ear, back of the head sort of thing. Same with Taito Ivasa. He's known for picking those shots pretty well, so I do see how Cyril Gane could win that. I think that Almeida is a menace, but I don't know. I still think that it's not enough to say that he beats Gane. Personally, I don't think. And we move on to Yuri Prohaska versus Jamal Hill. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where this idea that Jamal Hill was super technical came from. He does overextend on shots sometimes. He just looks technical with him keeping his hands relatively high compared to Yuri. It's just the comparison amongst these two guys. Historically, yeah, Jamal Hill keeps his hands more closer to his chin, generally. He just looks more technical. Although people don't look at the feet, they don't look at the footwork, they don't look at the overextension sometimes. They just look at where they're generally standing, how they generally look when they're throwing, or just in their neutral stance. But I mean, Yuri, his counters were amazing. His head movement was insane. It's just, I mean, Guru pointed this out. I mean, we don't really talk about this, but Yuri didn't really have the threat with the leg kicks or the fact that he was maybe going to get taken down. He didn't have the Alex Pereira or the Glover Teixeira threats here. So even though I do actually slightly lean towards Yuri Prohaska against a guy like Magomed Ankalaev, that is a really tricky fight still. And even though I don't think he beats Pereira, that is a more competitive fight now, but uh, don't count him out. He does have a shot at winning the title again. I would actually predict that he could get the title back if Ankalaev wins against Pereira. And I'm going to make a video on that as well. That should be a great fight. I'm so 50-50 on Pereira and Ankalaev. I think Ankalaev is probably going to be a 2-1 favorite, but that's besides the point. Jamal Hill, he definitely has the chance to come back if he just tightens up his tools, if he makes it a little more technical, if he fixes his footwork, and he doesn't get too aggressive when he's rocked. Like he was trying to prove a point to get Yuri off of him when he was rocked. He can't do that against Yuri. I know you can't back up too much either, but if you just try and prove a point against Yuri when you're rocked, you're just gonna get KO'd. So that's what happened. And I like Jamal Hill. It was sad to see either of these guys lose. I didn't want either of them to lose, but it is what it is. It's the fight game. I like both of them, and I hope for them to succeed because they're both cool characters. Yuri and Marab winning definitely made this already one of my favorite cards this year, and is already going to be in my top 5 for this year, 100%. Because Yuri and Marab are just some of my favorite fighters. Two of my favorites, and the fact that they were both counted out in the fashions that they were by some people, it just made it really all the more sweeter. Yeah, crazy slip counters from Yuri. Hopefully he gets a shot at Magomed in the end of the year. Marab and Umar. I'm crazy surprised at some of the conceived opinions that some people are coming up with now. Some people saying, "Oh, Umar got robbed." These people, they would go crazy if you even considered that. If Umar got the decision and Marab actually deserved it. People would go crazy if Umar got the decision and you thought that Marab should have gotten it. It's just the double standards are crazy. Now, don't get me wrong, I like Makashev. I like some of these guys, but we're just gonna have to call it how it is. These guys can't handle a loss too well at the biggest level, at the highest level. They do make excuses. It's exactly like what Guru said. It's easy being humble when you're undefeated, when you're not losing. But when you actually have to take a loss, it's, oh, my injury. Oh, actually, oh, have you seen this cardio? Oh, it was the showboating. Ah, come on, you guys. I don't like what Javier Mendez was saying. I don't like what Umar Nurmagomedov was saying. I don't like how a lot of these fans of the Dagestani guys were saying. I don't really like it. And give Dvalishvili his props. I underestimated him, and I will not do that ever again. Even though I had in the back of my head, Marab does have a decent shot if he sticks to a good game plan with the pressure. I just, with these last two fights of his career with Sean O'Malley and Umar Nurmagomedov, I just got convinced by the MMA fans, and that was not how I should be basing my predictions. I should never do that anymore. I should not. Getting swayed by the popular MMA YouTubers and the fans and the analysis people and the odds, it should not come into the factors of the predictions anymore. So I gotta predict off of the skills and what I see in the cardio and the attributes and all this other stuff that comes into it. I gotta not look at the name and all this. Because at the end of the day, yeah, he didn't get fraud checked, but when it came down to it, people were going crazy with the glaze, saying, oh my gosh, he's gonna freaking defend the belt 10 times. He was saying that, oh, maybe I'm gonna defend the belt 10 times and surpass Khabib's 29-0. It's a bit crazy. You gotta slow down, you gotta be humble. Morab humbled him, okay? You have to be man first, you know? You have to be man first. Anyway, moving on, Islam Makhachev and Renato Moicano. This was expected. Renato Moicano, he is Money Moik, he is the GOAT, but uh, Makhachev's the boat, best of all time. As Tony said, Tony Ferguson, the boat, the two boats, they stay afloat when goats come and go. Look, Islam, I think that he is going to stay in 155. He has an insane Dars. He has an insane squeeze. I thought watching live that Makhachev got dropped, and I was like, oh my gosh, but no, it was just a slip for the most part. On the feet, it was pretty competitive, actually, but, Makhachev took it to his element. Moicano doesn't really know what to do off his back. He's mostly in his element when he's the one controlling the grappling, when he's on top, when he's the BJJ guy. When he's on bottom and the other guy is controlling him, it's a bit trickier for him. And on the feet, yeah, he's not too special, although I was surprised to see how competitive it was. Ultimately, it showed that it's just a different level. You can't put in the number 10 guy on 1 day notice. Granted, he had a fight camp, but it's just different when you're fighting Makhachev. And I was, to be honest, even though, I will put this as my top five cards of the year, undoubtedly, it was certainly disappointing to see this amazing main event and also the Beneil Dariush fight in shambles because, it was cool to see Makhachev perform and finally surpass Habib in the GOAT status. Even like some people that wouldn't ever say that finally have come around to the idea that Makhachev is better than Khabib. It's cool to see that, but and he's just a cool guy. I gotta be honest. He's definitely the coolest of the Team Habib guys. But ultimately, I mean, yeah, I wish the best for Moicano, but unfortunately, I don't think he's gonna win much here on out. I did like the can't afford to lose gimmick. I cannot afford to lose, That was cool, but I just, man, I don't see how, unless Armin comes in healthy, which knowing that he either ate too much and couldn't make the weight, or he genuinely had a back injury, knowing that, I don't know if I pick him now. Unless Makhachev becomes 35 or 34 and a few months and he's just too old, or he just gets washed, or he goes up a weight class against Shavkat, which I don't think he wins, MMA Shea beautifully displayed why going up in weight would be a problem for Makhachev. Just hearing as well what Makhachev says about his own weight, it makes sense that he would probably lose to Shafkat or even Bilal. I could see happening, or losing. I mean, I could see him losing. I can't see it happening per se, but I could see it if it does happen. I could see Makhachev losing. That's a pretty close fight, but I could see Makhachev losing that. Ultimately, I mean, unless it's Armin healthy or maybe a really good game plan, Oliveira, Charles Oliveira, I just don't see him losing anytime soon. I think he beats Gaethje. I could see Gaethje beating Hooker and then getting a title shot, but man, Makhachev's great. He really is, and I am stoked with the way this card turned out. Aside from the fact that Beneil didn't get to fight and Armin didn't get to fight, but it is what it is. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. The mask is out.